Dr. Ruth Wisse, who was my doctoral advisor, and a Doktormama in the fullest sense. I would say Doktormutter, but she was really a Doktormama. And I knew that in choosing her, I was choosing not only one of the titanic minds of Yiddish scholarship of the time, I would say of our generation, but really we're not of the same generation, but of her generation. And I unfurled before her my plan, my desire to study about the relationship between literature and the process of secularization. And I was interested specifically in the question of how the modern secular West has come to embrace literature, and particularly the novel and fiction, as a kind of repository for our moral and ethical thinking. So that in a public school like the one I went to, we don't study religion, we don't study philosophy, we don't study anthropology, we don't study moral reasoning in any formal way, but we get some of that thinking through our English class. And this seemed curious to me in retrospect, and I wanted to understand how things got to be that way. So I mentioned all of this to Ruth, and she said, well, this is a fascinating project, and I had been immersing myself in George Eliot, and I wanted to study English literature and French literature and Spanish literature. She said, this is great, but you're going so far afield. You already know Hebrew, and secularization took place so rapidly within the Jewish world. If you just learn Yiddish, you'll have this incredibly fertile ground for studying this question right here at home, as it were. And she said, you have Hebrew, you have Spanish, you're good at languages. Why don't you just try Yiddish, see how it goes? And I thought, okay. I was studying Arabic at the time for fun, and I loved learning another Semitic cognate language. I mean, I guess I am my great-grandfather's great-granddaughter in some sense, because there's nothing more fun than studying a new language. So I figured, I'll try Yiddish, I'll see. Is it going to be harder than Arabic? So I remember that Ruth left me a copy of Weinreich's College Yiddish in her box, and I was to pick it up. And I went on some snowy spring day to pick up this book, and I found a little Post-it note attached to it, and it said, Far Miriam, a matone. And of course, I didn't know any Yiddish yet, but I could figure out, I knew Hebrew. So a matone, I got that. So the very first thing I learned in Yiddish was that far must mean for. And I opened the book, and as so many generations have done before me, I learned that Sennen do Jiden in alle Länder. And I learned the Peretz Ode to Joy, and I learned about the Jewish nose. I planned that I would go to YIVO that summer, and I found out that if I wanted to place into the lower intermediate, I would need to make it through the first 5 kapitlen. So I figured, okay, well, I can try to do that. Yiddish was so intuitive. It was such a joy. I really took to it. I mean, we say a fish into water, and the whole relationship to Yiddish, you might say, is quite Piscean. And then my first formal classroom experience with Yiddish was that first summer in New York. And I was studying Yiddish in the mornings, and I was teaching at the Drisha Institute in the afternoons. And that was actually kind of unconventional because although I would go on to teach Gemara and Midrash and to eventually direct a program at Drisha for high school students, I started out that first summer teaching kickboxing. And so I was on my way from my Yiddish class where I was a student to the kickboxing class for the mostly Orthodox high school age girls where I was the teacher. And I came out, Drisha was then housed on 86th Street, West 86th Street, near the Belle Nord, which is Isaac Bashevis Singer Boulevard. So I was on Isaac Bashevis Singer Boulevard coming out of the subway. I walked maybe 10 paces. Who was coming into the subway? None other than Ruth Wisse. And this is after a week of Yiddish. And I was so excited to see her because she had launched me on this course of study that was clearly going to be wonderful. I mean, I was having the time of my life studying Yiddish. And of course, the classroom was an immersive environment, and I wanted to be able to just grab her by the lapels and thank her and tell her how wonderful it was and how much this meant to me and say everything to her in Yiddish. And of course, with a week of Yiddish under my belt and 5 chapters of self-study in Weinreich, I was totally tongue-tied. And I got really frustrated, and I just I was so sad that I couldn't have this kind of perfect encounter on Isaac Bashevis Singer Boulevard. And so I started the conversation in Yiddish, and then we had to switch to English. And she said, Miriam, don't worry, we have an expression, we have a Sprichwort. I said, oh. She said, siehst du a lange Leben auf zu reden Yiddish. There's a long life for speaking Yiddish. And so part of the counterweight to that feeling of, it's never enough, I'm never good enough, is that's the hope, that siehst du a lange Leben auf zu reden Yiddish. And we'll get there.